Welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. Coming up on today's episode, a bid comes in for Brazilian midfielder Danilo. Another bid on another player in Neco Williams. Newcastle still hunting down Elanga, and a decision expected on Gimenez this week. All this and plenty more coming up today on your latest Forest news. Let's get into it. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to your latest Forest news. And it's literally come like buses. It's been a quiet weekend, and suddenly there's 4 or 5 different things we've got to update you on. So if you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. Let's get 550 likes on this video, so make sure you've pressed it. Check the number before you press it. And don't forget, if you are in the Nottinghamshire area and you need some new tyres on your car, there are 10 different locations across the whole of Nottinghamshire where you can go and find Lindley's, and they have a special offer right now. If you want 2 tyres, they'll give you 15 quid off the Falcon tyres. If you want 4 tyres, they'll give you 40 quid off of those if you use code LindleyFA23. So go check out their website, book yourself in, sort your tyres out, and they'll even come out to you. The link's pinned in the comments as well. Okay, let's jump into the news and let's kick this off with Danilo. All right, so on Danilo, we were there arguing away as we always do on Grumpy Old Reds, and the news broke that a bid has come in for Danilo. And this was broken by Matteo Moretto. He's an Italian journalist, I believe. He's not someone I'm too familiar with. But I just want to read you out the statement that he put out. It says, Milan are looking on improving their midfield, not only with Yusuf Fofana, who's their priority, and Kone as well. In recent days, they've also been in contact for Danilo from Nottingham Forest. He is a profile highly appreciated by the club, and the Brazilian has a valuation of over £25 million. Market situation to monitor in view of the coming weeks. They are very, very interested in the young gun that is Danilo. So the talk here is that Milan want to obviously improve their midfield. Danilo is making their shortlist. Now, we've already told you guys that he's on Manchester United shortlist as well. And what's interesting is the pricing and the valuation here. They're saying, or he's saying, that he will cost over £25 million. Now, that's not to say it's 25 million, but it won't be that far off. Probably my guess would be around £30 million to get this deal done. Now, is that undervaluing Danilo? As we had a very heated discussion yesterday on Go. If you haven't checked that out, I mean, get some earplugs, but I'll leave it on the end screen for you guys anyway. And what people need to realize first is how much Forest paid for Danilo, how much his amortization is, and how much profit Forest will get off him. Now, Danilo signed for Forest for 18 million, thereabouts. And he signed on a 6.5-year deal. And before all you say, well, 5 years PSR and all this, no, that rule didn't kick in until after Forest had signed him on the 6.5-year deal. So in essence, roughly speaking, his annual amortization is £3 million. Been at the club for 2 and a bit years now, so you can knock off 6 million. So in essence, break even, long-winded, but I'm giving you the maths, for Danilo is £12 million. Anything above 12 million would be PSR profit. So if Forest were to get 30 million or even 25 million on Danilo, you can see the markup is actually really good. So that's why I don't think it would need a 40 or a 50 million pound fee to get this one done. But the question is, how important is Danilo to Forest, and Forest going ahead into the season kicking off in a couple of days? Well, we've seen him partner a lot in the pre-season with Sangare, and to be honest, that's a partnership that has been looking good. Sangare's obviously now found his form and is playing well and freeing up whoever the 8 is next to him. We've even seen the 8s looking good against Olympiacos because of the way Sangare can dominate that 6th position, and we've seen the same with Danilo. My thing with Danilo, he has been inconsistent over the last 2 years. I do agree with what Rob said last night, that his hottest period was in the first season where he came in our first season, in those final 10 games where he was almost played as a second cam, higher up next to Morgan Gibbs-White, and we saw him scoring those goals against Southampton and so on. That was the best one, wasn't it? So he has, for me, still a lot of potential to grow into. He can play as a 6. I think he's better as an 8. We've said that from the moment we signed him, when we did the scouting report. But I still don't even think we've seen 20-30% of what Danilo's capable of. But would I be willing to sell him? Well, at the moment, I feel we're quite congested in that number 8 position. You got Danilo, you got Anderson who can play there. Technically, Morgan Gibbs-White looks good there as well. You got Gimenez who can play there. You got Yates who can play there. That's already 5 players. And technically, Sangare-ish can play there as well. So you got 5 or 6 players who are vying for one position, the 8, if we assume that Sangare is the starter for the 6. Therefore, that's too many people and potentially unhappy camps. So you could see and understand that if Forest were to move Danilo on, if they were making profit, and I think Forest would value him at about 30 million to get a deal done, with probably a sell-on clause going forward as well at 15 or 20%. I think that would get the deal done. Now, what's not clear is if Milan have put in an actual bid for him yet or not. I think personally it's an inquiry, one of those informal conversations. Hi Forest, hi Mr. Marinakis, we like Danilo, how much to pry him off you? So that's where I think we are with it. There are some reports saying a bid has been put in and rejected. I'm not hearing that. I think it's an inquiry at the moment. But my question to you guys is, what is your valuation of Danilo? I know I asked you this on the previous video, but now we're seeing more and more kind of that snowballing effect getting bigger. And it could be a situation where now that Inter have shown an interest, maybe Manchester United, who have him on the list, will show an interest and a bidding war could happen. Doesn't happen too much these days in football like it used to a few years ago, but this would only benefit Forest. So would I be up for selling Danilo? I don't know, is the honest answer. I think if we have him for another year, we will see him flourish and grow, cut out some of the mistakes he's made and become a better player. And by that he then could increase his valuation. I think we should keep him, but I'm not that against it, if you know what I mean. I would understand it. It's the same thing with Mangala. Didn't want Mangala to go, but I understood the finances behind it. Now, we are in a stronger financial position now. We don't have to as much, but I still would understand it. But what are your thoughts? I'll be interested to know what you guys think. Get them in the comments down below. Okay, so let's move on and talk about another bid. And this one has been rejected by Nottingham Forest, and that's for Neco Williams from Atalanta. Now, this has come out from Fabrizio Romano. I'll just quickly again read you out his tweet. Understand Nottingham Forest have rejected a formal bid from Atalanta for Neco Williams this weekend. Proposal was over 20 million euros. That's about 17 million pounds. And this was turned down by Nottingham Forest. And this one has got me thinking. One, we paid quite a lot for Neco Williams. I think it was 17.5 million. I can't remember what contract it's on, probably a 5-year deal, I would guess. So you're looking at about 3.5-4 million per year. Now, he's been there for 2 full seasons now, knock off 5 million. So his valuation again isn't around 12 to 13, maybe 14 million pounds for break even. So again, this would be profit for Forest, but not as much as a Danilo one would be. And that's why I think Forest have rejected this one. I think Neco Williams is worth about 25 million pounds. So we would need to see an increased bid from Atalanta for this to go through. Now, just because this bid has been rejected does not necessitate that this deal will not go through. Most first bids on players are rejected as a matter of fact. It's like, oh, you want our player? Okay. Let's go through the motions, reject the bid, come back in. Now we start negotiating the fee. Then we start negotiating, add-on clauses and things like that. So this will test to see how serious Atalanta are. And on this one, would not be against it, because it kind of makes sense to me. I think Neco Williams, as I've said, is the most improved player under Nuno, but I do wonder about where his ceiling is in that right back position. I almost feel he may be suited better up higher up the pitch. Now, we know that Forest is seriously considering Loku from Brest, as we've told you many times this window. And that's made me think, what happens with Einar? And the only solution I can think of is that Einar switches over to the right-hand side. You bring Loku in on the left-hand side. You've got the likes of Omar Richards and Toffolo back up on the left. And then on the right-hand side, you'd have the backup, obviously, of Eric Da Silva. And that's how I think this one would work out if Forest were to agree to sell Neco Williams. And that's why I'm not against it, because I think Einar is a better player than Neco Williams. I think his all-round game is better. He's just as versatile. They can both play on either side. But if you had to make me choose between one or the other, Einar would start for me. And therefore, you would have Neco Williams as secondary. Obviously, I'm making the assumption that Forest bring in the left back that Nuno wants. And then it's a case of, do you want a depreciating value? Because if he's stuck there on the bench, not getting game time, his valuation won't go up, it will go down. While there is hype around Neco Williams, it may be a good time to sell him. However, I still don't feel we will sell him. But I would, again, understand this one. Put it this way, I'd be more willing to sell Neco Williams over Danilo, because I really do think Einar is absolutely fine on the right-hand side. That would give Eric Da Silva a year under the wing of Einar, learn his trade, improve, get better, cup matches, etc. And if we bring in Loku, who I really do rate, we could have one hell of a back 5 or 4 if you don't want to include the keeper. Would you guys sell Neco Williams? If so, how much? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, let's jump on and talk about Elanga. And I know there's a lot of exit talks here, but let's be realistic as well. Forest can't just keep buying players and buying players. As astute as the business has been this transfer window, we still have to balance the books and we still have to have some exits going out. Now, I also take this as a compliment. Some of you may worry when you see the likes of Neco Williams, Danilo, Gimenez all being linked away. I see it as a compliment that we are producing players now that are being taken seriously by the footballing world. Think, you know, who did we sell when we first came up? We couldn't get rid of anyone. We didn't have many to get rid of in the first place. So I think this is a positive thing. It shows Forest is starting to make waves in the right direction in the Premier League and in the footballing world. Now, this one is interesting on Elanga. There are a lot of rumours now circulating that Newcastle are thinking about putting a bid together for Elanga. This is one that we felt could happen post the whole Vlachodimos and Anderson deal, where the two clubs agreed basically to put two fingers up at the Premier League for PSR and then revisit the actual players that maybe Newcastle wanted from Forest. There's been loose links to Morgan Gibbs-White and obviously now to Elanga. And Elanga seems to be the one on Eddie Howe's mind. Now, I do expect at some point, and this is just me talking, not spoken to anyone about it. I mean, it's from Newcastle's prerogative to do it. So I have no intel from what they want to do. But I do feel at some point, because of the deal we saw with Vlachodimos and Anderson, that Newcastle may test the waters out with Forest. The question is, will Forest agree to a slightly lower price because of the whole PSR deal? And that's the bit that worries me. Elanga has finally, for me, in that Olympiacos game, shown exactly what I want to see from him. He's frustrated me so much last year because I can see the potential and the talent in him and just take on the players like he did at Olympiacos. And he could turn into one hell of a prospect. I still have my doubts about it. I want to see it in more than just fits and starts. So I expect, maybe not now, but towards the end of the window, that Newcastle will come sniffing for Elanga. And as I said, there are reports coming out from reporters in the Northeast saying that they are thinking about putting a bid together. Now, we will keep you posted on this one, but it's something that makes sense if it happens because of the PSR deal. Would you sell him or not though? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, a lot of you have been asking me for an update on Santiago Gimenez, the striker from Feyenoord, and are Forest seriously in on him and what is going on? We need a striker, etc. Well, the answer is it seems to be a yes. So Forest apparently have had a bid rejected and they're tabling and putting together another one. And this is another one that Romano has spoken over. I'll give you a quote from what he said. He says, news on Santiago Gimenez. I think there could be news for Gimenez in the next days. I expect movement around Gimenez, and I think it could be to the Premier League for Santiago Gimenez. There is movement. I can't say more for now, but there is movement around Santiago Gimenez. And this was actually reflected in the game he played for Feyenoord the other day, where there are many reports that were saying, and I didn't see the game so I can't comment, that he looked like his mind was elsewhere, that his head has been turned. He still managed to get an assist in that game with a sliced bicycle kick, I believe it was, that ended up going to another Feyenoord player and being put in. So he's still delivering on the pitch, even if his head is turned. But it seems, and from the hints that Romano is putting out, that Gimenez is up now for a move. Whereas before, the feeling was he wanted something bigger, quote unquote, than Nottingham Forest. It now feels like he could be interested. Now we know there's another club involved. Who that club is has not been clarified. But this is probably not going to happen that quickly. Even though Romano thinks movement will start this week, I don't see it. I'd love it to happen before the Bournemouth game and see if we can get him unveiled there. But those are the real updates. Now there's been a lot of rumors spinning around social media saying an agreement in principle has been put in place from Forest on Gimenez. There is agreements verbally and all this. I can tell you I've had nothing come my way. From the links that have been sent to me and what quotes have said, they don't look, of any substance whatsoever. So trust in what, the bigger ones are saying about it. And also we'll tell you what we're hearing. So I've heard of no bid tabled. Hopefully that will change in the next couple of days. I believe what Romano's saying on this as well. To me, that sounds the most legit source on it right now. But as far as we know, and as far as being circulated right now, no new bid has been put out for him, but there should be movement in the next couple of days. And as ever, we will keep you posted on it. Do you still want him or not? Let me know down below. And that, ladies and gents, brings you up to speed with your Forest news. A lot of exit talks today. There is a Sosa update. We'll bring that for you tomorrow as well. And if you didn't catch Grumpy Old Reds, go check it out. I'll leave it on the end screen for you guys now. Don't forget, get your tyres sorted out by Lindley's. Go to lindleys.co.uk. And if you haven't already, please do hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. We'll see you on the next episode. Come on, you Reds.